Hello everyone and welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're doing good and well. So it's time for an album review this Monday, and this time I'm reviewing the 20th studio album from the black metal legends Darkthrone, and this is their release It Beckons Us All, which came out last week on Friday the 26th of April via Peaceful Records, and the album is 7 tracks and around about 45 minutes in length. So in Darkthrone, of course, you have Fenris and you also have Nocturno Colto. And this album is in fact their fourth in the space of about 5 years, because we've obviously had before this in 2022 Astral Fortress, in 2021 Eternal Hails, and back in 2019 we had Old Star. So you've had they're pretty prolific. They're putting out quite a few albums in a reasonably short space of time, and the reason I realised that as well is because they're the only band for whom I've released 3 new releases since I started this channel, just around about just 3.5 years ago or so. So they have that, in their as an achievement, really. I think, not so many bands release albums as quickly as Darkthrone do these days, for sure. What do I make of this latest release? Well, this is very much in the vein of like albums like Old Star, I say, like Astral Fortress, like Eternal Hails. It has that sort of grey sound to it. It's kind of fuzzy. It's very doomy. The Candlemass influence is certainly still at large with this kind of record. I do find this one, though, suffers more from monotony. It feels just a little too monotonous for me throughout quite long segments of this record. Now, it's not the case all the way through, but for quite long segments, I felt like it wasn't manoeuvring much outside of a sort of comfortable zone. And I thought that the case a little bit with some of their other recent albums, but saying that, I felt that they did a bit more to impact me, that there were more memorable moments scattered throughout, and that there was just a little bit more impacts from those other recent albums from Darkthrone than this one, really. And I do think it's a lot because of repetition. Like the opening track, for example, that core riff that sort of goes on quite a long time. For me, you notice it. And I felt like they could have trimmed off maybe the last minute from that song, for example. So for me, this album does have its moments that stand out, and I do like the singles on it, but it just gets stale fairly quickly. And there's a song or two on here I found myself drifting out very easily, even though I was trying to pay attention to the music. It just felt way too easy to drift out of this album. That's never a good sign for me. If the album's not captivating me, it's not getting my attention, then that's not a good sign that I'm really digging this latest output from Darkthrone. So going into the tracks a little bit more, you've got things like Howling Primitive Colonies, the opening song, which, as I said, just kind of didn't really maneuver very far out of its sort of core riff and its core sound, and I found that one pretty task actually to get through. You don't want that with the first song on an album for me. Eon 3 I felt was a little bit more interesting, a little bit more interesting riffage going on. But it wasn't until third track, Black Dawn Affiliation, I really thought this album actually came into its own a bit more and gave us something much more interesting. With a really cool guitar riff, a good change. I like it when Darkthrone sometimes infuse a bit of keyboard work into their songs as well, and I enjoyed that element to this track as well. Other songs I enjoyed, the Bird People of Nordland, I really liked that. It was another single on the album, I believe. It had a really commanding sort of mid-tempo black metal riff on that song, which I thought was really enjoyable too. The Heavy Hands, unfortunately, didn't really do too much for me. Again, it sort of just laboured its way through its runtime. It never really manoeuvred much outside of this sort of kind of slowish sort of paced riff and not really doing much to explore anything for me or make an impact again. And The Lone Pines of the Lost Planet was a long track to finish the album with some developments and some evolution about it, but the end product wasn't really too satisfactory in terms of a climax. You did get a climax of this track in the last couple of minutes, but it felt a little bit lackluster because it took a long time for me to get there and didn't quite do enough to really elevate this track or this album for me to a great climax anyway. So overall, this album, it's not too bad. It's okay. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. I do think it could have, done a bit more with its sort of core material, if you like. And personally, out of the stuff that Fenris has been involved with recently, I'm much more likely to listen to the latest Coffin Storm offering and give that a spin than I am this particular Darkthrone record. So let me know what you thought of this one in the comments. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. I never say to anybody, you have to like agree with me or anything. You can love this album, you're absolutely fine. Maybe this will grow on me with time, but this particular Darkthrone album at the moment doesn't do too much for me. Anyway, thanks very much as always for watching, everybody. Don't forget to drop a like and a sub. Until next time, from me, bye for now.